Somewhere out there, a watchmaker sat down, spent months, sometimes years, crafting a timepiece. And the result was something that makes you tilt your head and wonder what went wrong. Today we are counting down the top 7 ugliest watches ever made. And before the hate mail starts rolling in, yes, some of these are incredibly expensive. Yes, some of them have passionate fans. And yes, we are ranking them anyway. Number 7, Invicta Pro Diver. Here it is, the watch world's favorite punchline. If you have ever wanted to cosplay as a Rolex owner on a ramen noodle budget, this is your golden ticket. Launched in 2013 with a manufacturer suggested retail price between $99 and $199, the Pro Diver is basically the horological equivalent of a cover band. Every detail screams submariner, from the Mercedes-style hands to the chunky bezel, but with all the subtlety of a disco ball at a funeral. The finish is so shiny, you will need sunglasses just to check the time. Under the hood, you get a Seiko NH35A movement and Invicta's proprietary flame fusion crystal. Fancy words meaning it works mostly, but that bargain price comes with baggage. A class action lawsuit over water resistance that claims some pro divers could not survive a kiddie pool, let alone the deep sea. And let us not forget its internet stardom. Reddit and YouTube have turned this watch into a meme, forever immortalized as the go-to example of just because you can does not mean you should. Still, it tells time, it looks expensive from a distance, and it is almost impossible to get mad at a watch that is this honest about what it is. If ugly were a crime, the Pro Diver would get off with community service, affordable, functional, and just self-aware enough to laugh along with the joke. Number 6, Diesel Mr. Daddy 2.0. If you thought the Invicta Pro Diver was a bit much, buckle up, the Diesel Mr. Daddy. 2.0 doesn't just cross the line into ugly, it sets up camp and throws a rave on the other side. This beast clocks in at a mind-boggling 57 millimeters across. Yes, that's not a typo. That's nearly 6 centimeters of wrist real estate. On a normal arm, it looks less like a watch and more like you've handcuffed yourself to a dinner plate. 4 separate time zones fight for space on the dial, each with its own sub-dial, because apparently Diesel thinks you're running a global logistics empire from your left wrist. The branding is about as subtle as a chainsaw in a library. Bold Diesel logos everywhere, just in case you forgot who is responsible. Retailing at $250 to $350, it's not the cheapest disaster on this list, but it's definitely the loudest. Comfort. Reviews say it's wearable if your idea of comfort is strapping a manhole cover to your arm. Here's the twist. This is not an accident. Diesel wants you to stare, to provoke, to start conversations. Ugliness as a branding strategy. It is intentionally theatrical, and for some, that's the entire point. For the rest of us, it's a cautionary tale about what happens when a fashion brand decides that more is always more, and then adds another time zone just to be sure. Number 5, Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore Survivor. Imagine taking a legendary Swiss watch, dressing it up for a zombie apocalypse, and then charging luxury car money for the privilege. That is the Survivor, a Royal Oak that has been hitting the protein powder and raiding the tactical gear aisle. The original Royal Oak is all about razor-sharp lines and understated cool, but the Survivor throws subtlety out the window, replacing it with a blackened titanium case, rubberized crown guards, and a bezel that looks like it was drilled for maximum intimidation. The pushers are not just pushers, they are grenade pins, because why not? It feels like someone at AP asked, what if our most elegant watch went full commando? At launch, the price tag hovered between $12,000 and $14,000, but the vibe is less Bond villain, more action figure accessory. Underneath the chest rig and ammo belt, there is still that world-class AP movement, ticking away with more precision than a Swiss border guard. But the clash between haute horlogerie and survivalist cosplay is impossible to ignore. The Survivor is not just a watch, it is a royal oak in combat boots, stomping through the luxury landscape and daring anyone to call it tasteful. For fans of the original, it is a fever dream. For everyone else, it is proof that even the finest pedigree cannot always save you from your own worst fashion instincts. Number 4. Hublot Big Bang Unico. If you've ever wondered what would happen if a luxury watch brand went on a reality show shopping spree and bought everything in the hardware aisle, the Big Bang Unico is your answer. Hublot calls it the art of fusion, but it is really more of a demolition derby for materials. Ceramic, titanium, carbon fiber, rubber, all mashed together into a porthole-shaped case that is about as subtle as a disco ball in a monastery. Visible screws, check. Exposed mechanics, absolutely. It's like someone dared Hublot to use every texture and finish known to man, and they gleefully accepted. Prices start around $9,000 and can rocket up to $20,000, depending on how many bonus features you tack on. The in-house Unico chronograph movement is technically impressive, credit where it's due, but the design feels like a nightclub on a wrist, complete with strobe lights and bottle service. For some fans, this is a peak statement piece, bold, brash, and unapologetically loud. For the rest of us, it's proof that just because you can fuse it does not mean you should. Still, in a world where beige is the enemy, you have to admire a watch that refuses to blend in, even if it looks like it was designed by a committee of magpies after an energy drink binge. Number 3. Urwerk UR-210. If you have ever wondered what would happen if a Swiss watchmaker let a team of sci-fi set designers loose in the workshop, meet the Urwerk UR-210. This thing does not just break the rules, it incinerates the style guide and launches the ashes into orbit. Forget hands and dials, time here is told by a trio of spinning satellite cubes, each one swinging around a retrograde minute track like the world's most expensive game of cosmic pinball. The minute hand itself is a mechanical boomerang, snapping back to zero with a satisfying clack every hour, just to remind you that, yes, you paid 6 figures for a watch that looks like a lunar lander mated with a stapler. Under the hood, Urwerk's founders, Felix Baumgartner and Martin Free, packed in a patented winding efficiency indicator, a power reserve, and a pair of miniature turbines to regulate the rotor. It is a technical marvel, no question, but on the wrist, it is 54 millimeters of brushed steel and titanium that wears like a jet engine glued to a cufflink. The price? Well, north of $100,000 depending on the edition, so it is not just ugly, it is extravagantly ugly. Collectors split into 2 camps. One sees boundary-pushing genius. The other sees a wearable transformer with a time-telling problem. Either way, the UR-210 is proof that innovation and beauty do not always shake hands. It is a love letter to horological weirdness, a watch that dares you to hate it and somehow makes that part of the fun. Number 2, Devon Works Tread 1. Now, if you have ever wanted to wear a miniature factory on your wrist, the Tread 1 is your ticket to industrial chic or industrial disaster, depending on how much you like conveyor belts. Forget hands, forget dials. Devon's approach is to put 4 interwoven micro belts inside a slab-sided acrylic case, each belt whirring around to display a digit like you are checking the time at an airport baggage claim. The tech is wild, a patented belt drive system, a rechargeable battery, and a digital brain that keeps everything ticking with the kind of precision you would expect from a NASA side project. But here's the rub. All that engineering genius is crammed into a case so big and boxy it makes the average G-Shock look like a pocket watch. The Tread 1 does not so much sit on your wrist as loom over it, daring anyone nearby to ask if you are late for your shift at the steel mill. Price: a cool $15,000, limited edition of course because there is only so much room in the world for watches that look like they were designed by a committee of transformers. Collectors call it engineering porn with terrible taste, and honestly, it is hard to disagree. You have to respect the ambition, But when the spectacle of mechanics overshadows any sense of wearable style, you end up with a marvel that is more conversation piece than timepiece. The Tread 1 is proof that just because you can patent it does not mean you should wear it. And finally, in first place, Franck Muller Encrypto. Here's what happens when Swiss watchmaking meets Bitcoin fever, and absolutely nobody says, maybe let's not. The Encrypto is what you get when a mid-luxury brand decides that what every wrist really needs is a laser-etched QR code on the dial, front and center, so you can check your crypto balance while also announcing to the world, I have both disposable income and questionable judgment. For around $4,500 to $5,200, you are not just buying a watch. You are buying a conversation starter, a tech support nightmare, and a security risk, all in one. The pitch is simple. Scan that QR code, and you are peeking directly into your own Bitcoin wallet. The private key? That is tucked away on a USB stick that ships with the watch, because nothing says cutting-edge security like a thumb drive you will probably lose in the junk drawer. To date, there are no documented hacks, but the lack of any independent security audit is just the icing on this digital disaster cake. Visually, the Encrypto is a fever dream of clutter, circuit board patterns, a giant Bitcoin logo, and that QR code daring you to try and read the time through a pixelated maze. It is like wearing a tech conference badge that costs $5,000 and can never be replaced. Sure, Franck Muller is known for wild designs, but here the gimmick does not just overshadow the watch, it swallows it whole. For all the talk of innovation, what you get is a mid-luxury wristwatch that manages to look both expensive and unfinished, while raising more questions about your OPSEC than your taste. If ugly is subjective, the Encrypto is at least objectively baffling, a monument to the idea that just because you can does not mean you should. Across all 7 monstrosities, one truth stands out. In watchmaking, technical genius and taste aren't always on speaking terms. Today, price tags and prestige can't protect a design from disaster or from devoted fans. In the end, beauty really is in the eye or the wrist of the beholder. Which ugly masterpiece did we miss? Drop your picks below.